I was hired to prove a woman was cheating on her husband. Turns out, I was watching the wrong person the whole time. I swear, this case started like every other rich people mess. Big house, bigger ego, and a client who thought money could buy him the exact truth he wanted. About 3 years ago, I was working as a private investigator on a team, nothing flashy, just long hours, surveillance, and way too much coffee. One day, we get this contract. 6 months. Huge payout on completion. The kind of job that makes your boss sit up straight. The client? Some stupidly rich guy. Polished on the outside, but the kind of guy who doesn't really look at you when he talks. You know the type. He sits us down and goes, "I think my wife is cheating on me." No hesitation. No doubt. Just entitlement. He wanted proof. Video, audio, whatever we could get. Said he needed it for a divorce. Said he wanted to protect his assets. That part stuck with me. So we took the job. We set up everything. Cameras all over the house, with his permission, of course. Discreet, hidden, clean installs. We bugged the common areas, monitored entrances, exits. Even put surveillance in her car. And then we started watching. Day in, day out. If you've never done this kind of work, it messes with your head a little. You're basically watching someone else's life unfold like a TV show. At some point, you either detach, or you get invested. I try to stay detached. This time, I didn't. Because within the first couple of weeks, something felt off. Not about her, about him. The wife? She was. I don't know how else to say it. She was a genuinely good person. Like, no joke, the kind of person you think doesn't actually exist anymore. She volunteered at a soup kitchen. Regularly. Not for photos, not for show, just showed up and worked. She spent time at a children's hospital. Organized food drives with local churches. I remember watching one clip of her packing boxes late at night, just quietly doing her thing. No drama. No secrets. No shady behavior. Just normal. Kind. And I remember thinking, what exactly are we looking for here? Then there was the husband. At first, nothing obvious. Business meetings, calls, coming and going. But then, we caught it. One night, he brings a woman home. Not his wife. Okay, that happens. Not what we were hired for, but still flag it, log it. Then it happens again. And again. And then one day, no joke, he brings 2 different women into the house within hours of each other. Same place. Same door. Same cameras we installed. I literally sat there staring at the monitor like, are you serious right now? This guy had hired us to catch his wife cheating. Meanwhile, he was running his own rotation schedule. We documented everything. Every timestamp. Every face. Every entry and exit. Clean, professional. No judgment, at least on paper. But internally? Yeah, it was getting harder not to judge. By the time we hit the 4-month mark, we had more than enough to present our findings. That's standard, mid-contract review, show the client what we've got so far. So we set up the meeting. 6 hours. Full breakdown. Video clips, audio logs, movement timelines. The whole thing. He walks in like he already knows what we're about to say. Sits down, barely acknowledges us. My captain starts the presentation. We show him everything. His wife's daily routine. Her volunteer work. Her driving record's clean, except for a speeding ticket and a couple of parking violations. That's it. No affairs. No suspicious patterns. Nothing. I kept glancing at him while we were talking. Waiting for something. Relief maybe? Nope. By the end of it, he just sat there. Quiet. Staring at the table. Then he looks up and goes, "So you didn't catch her cheating?" My captain didn't blink. No. A pause. And then the guy leans back, shakes his head, and says, "Then what was the point of me hiring you?" I felt something in my chest tighten. Because that was the moment it clicked. He didn't want the truth. He wanted validation. My captain leaned forward slightly, voice calm but sharp. "You hired us to investigate your wife." "We did." "You're unhappy that your wife is an honest and faithful woman." The room went dead quiet. The guy stood up so fast his chair scraped the floor. He grabbed his jacket, clearly pissed. "This is a waste of time." My captain didn't move. There are still 2 months left on the contract. We'll continue surveillance and… Don't bother, he cut him off. Just like that. It's over. I'm ending it. He headed for the door, then stopped and added, come when she's not home and get your equipment out. And then he walked out. No discussion. No negotiation. Nothing. I sat there for a second, just staring at the door. Something about the way he said it didn't sit right with me. Not at all. And I had this feeling one I couldn't shake. This wasn't actually over. A week later, we went back to the house. Just like he said, when she wasn't home. No confrontation. No explanation. Just us, quietly removing the same cameras we had installed months earlier. It felt different this time. Like we were undoing something unfinished. I remember standing in the living room, holding one of the last devices, looking around the house. Everything looked normal. Too normal. Like nothing had ever happened. But I knew better. We packed everything up and left without a word. And, just like that, the job was done. Or at least, it should have been. Fast forward to the end of the contract period, payday. We get a call from the office. Emergency meeting. Everyone who worked that case needed to be there. That's never a good sign. We walk in and the energy in the room is already off. Our manager's standing there with a stack of papers, jaw tight. He doesn't waste time. The client pulled the funding. Silence. I frowned. What do you mean, pulled the funding? He's refusing to pay the completion bonus. I felt my stomach drop. Now, with contracts like this, there's always a portion paid up front. That covers basic costs. But the real money, the part that makes the months of work worth it, that comes at the end. 6 months of surveillance. Gone. Just like that. Someone behind me muttered, "You've got to be kidding." Our manager shook his head. "We're paying you what we can from company reserves. But the bonus, unless we recover it legally, it's gone." And just like that, months of work turned into a loss. I swear, I've seen people get less angry over worse things. We left that office pissed. Not just annoyed, angry. Because this wasn't a misunderstanding. This guy knew exactly what he was doing. He didn't like the outcome, so he decided not to pay for it. Like we were some kind of subscription he could just cancel. We ended up going out to lunch, me, my captain, and a couple of the team. No one was really eating. Just talking. Throwing ideas around. How do we get him back? That was the question. At first, it was just venting. Angry suggestions. Half serious, half not. Then someone said it. "We've got everything on him." And the table went quiet. Because yeah, we did. Every woman. Every time he walked through that door. Every lie he was living under his own roof. It was all documented. One of the guys leaned in. We could blackmail him. No joke, he said it straight. I didn't say anything at first. Because for a split second, it made sense. He screws us over, we hit him where it hurts. Simple. But my captain shut that down immediately. No, we're not doing that. Firm. No hesitation. That's not who we are. And he was right. Didn't make the anger go away though. We sat there in silence for a bit. And then, I thought about her. The wife. I don't know why that moment, specifically. Maybe because out of everyone in this situation, she was the only one who had no idea what was really going on. She was living in that house. With him. Completely unaware. I leaned back and said, "What about telling her?" A couple heads turned. "Not for revenge," I added quickly. "She deserves to know." No one answered right away. Because this wasn't simple either. There are lines in this job. Boundaries. You don't just go around sharing client information, even if the client is a piece of garbage. But at the same time, this felt different. I could still picture her in those recordings. Packing food. Smiling with kids at the hospital. Just being a good person. And I kept thinking, if that were me, wouldn't I want to know? My captain looked at me for a long second. Then he said, quietly, "If you do this, you do it on your own. Fair. No official involvement. No company liability. Just me." I nodded. "Yeah," I said. "I know. Reaching out to her wasn't easy. I had her contact info from the case, but even typing the message felt wrong. Like I was crossing a line I couldn't uncross. I kept it simple. Professional. Said I had information regarding her husband that she needed to see. Asked if she'd be willing to meet. No details. No accusations. She replied the next day. Agreed to meet. We picked a quiet place. Neutral. Public enough to be safe, private enough to talk. I got there early. I remember sitting there, hands clasped, going over everything in my head. Am I doing the right thing? No clear answer. Then she walked in. Same as I remembered. Calm. Polite. Genuinely warm. She smiled when she saw me, like this was just another normal meeting. That made it worse. We sat down. She tilted her head slightly. You said this was about my husband? I nodded. And for a second, I hesitated. Because once I said it, there was no going back. I took a breath. There's something you need to see. Her smile faded a little. Okay. I pulled out the files. Videos. Photos. Time logs. I didn't say much. I just showed her. At first, she didn't react. Just watched. Quiet. Processing. Then I saw it. The moment it hit her. Her hand moved to her mouth. Her eyes filled up. And she just broke. Right there at the table. She didn't scream. Didn't make a scene. She just cried. Soft at first. Then harder. Like something inside her had just collapsed. I sat there frozen. I've seen a lot in this job. But that was different. That wasn't evidence anymore. That was someone's life falling apart in real time. And I knew. There was no undoing this. She cried for a long time. I didn't interrupt. Didn't try to explain it away. There was nothing I could say that would make that moment better. So I just sat there. Let her feel it. At one point, she wiped her face, took a shaky breath, and looked at me. Is this all real? Her voice barely held together. I nodded. Yeah. No softening it. No way to. She looked back down at the footage. I could see it in her eyes. Every memory she had of him was being rewritten in real time. I don't understand, she whispered. Why would he? She couldn't even finish the sentence. I didn't answer. Because the truth was, there wasn't a good answer. After a while, I slid a card across the table. You should talk to a lawyer, I said quietly. And you can keep all of this. She looked at the card. Then at me. Why are you telling me this? That question stuck. I thought about it for a second. All the angles. The contract. The lines I had crossed just by sitting there. And then I just told her the truth. Because you deserve to know. She didn't say anything after that. Just nodded. Held onto the evidence like it was the only solid thing left in her world. We parted ways not long after. No dramatic goodbye. Just quiet understanding. And I walked out of there feeling like I had just set something in motion I couldn't control. About 6 months later, I got called into court. Our company had filed a lawsuit against him, fraud, breach of contract, unpaid dues. Everything we had. And honestly, it wasn't even close. His lawyer tried to argue that we failed to deliver the desired result. I remember sitting there thinking, that's not how this works. We weren't hired to create a result. We were hired to find the truth. And we did. The judge saw right through it. Case closed. We won. Full payment. Every dollar he tried to withhold. For the first time since all of this started, it felt like something had actually been set right. But that wasn't even the part that stuck with me. As I was leaving the courthouse, someone called my name. I turned around. And there she was. The wife. Or, I guess, at that point, not anymore. She looked different. Not in a dramatic way, just lighter. Like something heavy had been cut loose. She walked up to me, and for a second, neither of us said anything. Then she smiled. A real one. I wanted to thank you, she said. I nodded. You don't have to. No, she cut me off gently. I do. She told me everything. How she had taken the evidence straight to a lawyer. How the case unfolded. How it all came out, every detail, every lie. And how it ended. She got the house. Both cars. And a significant amount of money. I won't pretend that fixes everything. It doesn't. But it gave her a way out. A clean break. I wouldn't have known without you, she said. I didn't really know how to respond to that. So I just said, I'm glad you're okay. She nodded. We stood there for another moment, then went our separate ways. And that should have been the end of it. About 6 months after that, I was at a mall. Nothing special. Just killing time, grabbing a coffee. And I literally froze for a second when I saw her. She was standing a few feet away, looking just as surprised. Then she laughed a little. "This is weird." "Yeah," I said. "A little." We ended up sitting down, catching up. No pressure. No expectations. Just talking. And for the first time, it wasn't about the case. It wasn't about him. It was just two people having a normal conversation. I noticed how different she seemed. Still kind. Still grounded. But stronger. Like she had gone through something and come out the other side of it. At some point, I realized I wasn't thinking about the job anymore. I was just there. With her. We kept in touch after that. Slow at first. Casual. Then more often. And somewhere along the way, it turned into something else. Something real. Sometimes I think back to that first meeting. Sitting across from her, knowing what I was about to show her. Knowing it would change everything. And part of me still wonders if I had the right to make that call. But then I remember the look on her face outside that courthouse. Not broken. Not lost. Free. And I think, yeah, maybe the job wasn't about proving anything. Maybe it was just about telling the truth. Because in the end, he hired me to expose her. But all he really did was expose himself. And he lost everything.